All right, welcome everybody to episode 45 of Practical Chrome. Practical Chrome, the show, videocast, as it were. Providing everything Chromey to the Chromies, to all the peoples out there who love the Chrome. We're going to give you some news today. We're going to go over some stuff. I labeled the episode "Give Me Chromebooks or Give Me Death." I think somebody else went with pretty practical Chrome or pretty Chrome. I'm not sure which. But either way, it's going to be a good episode. And of course, welcome the ever lovable, ever squishable, the two people that make my pod whole, Craig Tomlinson and James Bulbus. Craig, how are you doing today, sir?
I was doing great before that. What was that? What were you going for that you didn't really get to accomplish there?
It's just called an intro.
Well,
so
it wasn't.
People in the biz call an intro.
It wasn't an
What
attempt.
business is that?
It was an attempt. I'll give you that much. It wasn't an intro.
Come on. Mr. Welbus, how are you doing today?
I'm alright. I think we should talk about intros before we go live.
No, come on.
We should have a vote or something.
A vote. A vote. The two wheels that make my trike roll. What?
That's less creepy than imagining all three of us in a pod together.
You're not an engineer, are you, John?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
Well, no, if I'm the third wheel, then we have a trike. See, that's why we have the two wheels that make. See.
What are you implying
anyway.
about mine and Craig's relationship that you're the third wheel?
I mean, we're buddies, but don't feel like you're the third wheel, man.
It's okay. I'm comfortable with it. But gentlemen, of course, welcome to the show. Episode 45. Awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into some news. There's a lot of it, apparently. I didn't put the show notes together today, so I'm gonna have to rely on my wheels for a little bit of help. Starting off with, let's head over to, so in the notes there, what we have is a number of articles, and they're also posted on the G Plus page for the event and for the video. But first up there is going to be the Chrome to add a new user type combining regular and supervised features, and we've heard a little bit about this. I know that we've seen some of this stuff rolling down the pike. Some of it was a little bit difficult to pull off, so it took a little bit of time in comparison to just doing just the supervised users. But Craig, I know that you probably know the most about this. I know that I use supervised users with my two kids. I've got Susan and Sarah both have accounts, and I did notice that there's an option now if you have one and then you go to add them to another machine, it says would you like to add an already existing one, or if you use the same name, it actually prompts you and says, hey, you already have this account, the supervised account, would you like to just use that one? But besides that, what do we know about this whole Chrome to add a new user type combining regular and supervised features?
It's funny you should say I know the most about it, because I don't.
Well, no, hold on. Wait. I'm gonna counter that point with this one. Dinsan, we got this story from Chromstory, Chromestory.com, and the leading paragraph states, according to a code commit that my friend Tumblison and I noticed and analyzed. So the person that may have noticed and analyzed a commit, I hope, would be the one of the three of us that could let us know what's going on. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Your name's actually in Dinsan's article, but go ahead.
Yes, it's an oddly placed name drop. Dinson found this, and he passed it my way and said, hey, take a look at this. Can you get any information out of it at all? It wasn't actually a code commit at that point. It was a code review. And so that's a change that a developer has submitted to the team of reviewers that look it over and make sure it's not going to cause problems before it's committed. So it's like the review stage. Honestly, it's cryptic. It's purposely vague. It's a cookie crumb made of possibly not cookie. We're not really sure. It's interesting, though. It's interesting. The naming is interesting. The references to enterprise accounts are interesting. If I would say the most likely scenario here is probably something to do with bringing supervised users to manage devices, because if you are on if a device is enrolled right now in a domain, whether it's enterprise or edu, you cannot have supervised users on that device. So I think that that's probably the most likely situation, but I'm most hopeful that this will allow supervised users to install apps, because I know that is a really, really highly requested feature. Supervised users cannot currently install apps or extensions because they're not actually tied to a Google account and you need a Google account to install apps or extensions, which is a little weird. But so I'm hoping that's what it does, but I don't think that's likely. But right now it's kind of just up in the air.
Well, there you go. And I did peruse the article, and Dinsan says basically, yeah, we couldn't find a lot about this feature, but you know, James, do you ever use the supervised features? Do you ever let the kids use the Chromebooks without their own? Well, you know, because you know they're not supposed to have their own account under age 13, so.
Kids are destroyers of things, so I try not to let them hold things I like. They get to play with the really crappy HTC tablet I bought a long time ago, and that's about it.
All right. Okay.
Sorry.
Going on with kids over there. It's all right. Well, like I said, I do use that, but of course I don't have a corporate device, so I couldn't tell you. But I can definitely see the benefit. So that's pretty cool. Good find there, Mr. Tumbleson, and didn't sign out there. So next up, and we talked about this a little bit. Actually, the last 2 weeks we've been talking about it. I've heard a little bit more news myself in regard to this issue. This issue. It's not like an issue. But Skype for web beta goes live and won't work on a Chromebook yet. This is a story from OMG Chrome, Joey over at OMG Chrome, breaking it down. We've talked a little bit about this, guys. I mean, we talked about the fact that you have the standards that allow for. I mean, I think wasn't it last week? We went into this, man. We went into the fact that WebRTC, and then you're just throwing a blanket over it, right? You're going to skin it the way that you want it to look, but really WebRTC is going to be the back end, or what was it, ORTC, which is just like an open, or I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, what do we have to add to this? We have this article at OMG Chrome, but what do we have to add to this? James, I'll start with you.
Oh boy. Well, what what to add? What to add,
sir?
I would like to add a question. As a person who is not a reader of things, maybe you can tell me. This Skype for web, does it also work in Firefox, Internet Explorer, pretty much any desktop browser?
Well,
surely it's not Chrome only.
Well, what's funny is it says that it's plug-in free, voice calls, video calls, natively in most modern browsers, including Chrome.
Plug-in free, eh?
Yeah, exactly. It's got a little bit of that
Hmm.
The thing is, I don't believe that IE 9 or 10 has WRTC available in it, so I'm not sure. Do they consider that a modern browser? I'm not sure.
Does Microsoft consider that a modern browser? I don't know. I was just curious, just throwing that out there. It's I mean, I don't know. It would seem silly that Microsoft would develop Skype for app or Skype for web that doesn't work on Internet Explorer. So I was hoping maybe you could definitively clear that up for me. But otherwise, as far as what to add to it, it's just another example of what the future is going to look like. Things moving to the web. When an archaic company like Microsoft actually starts moving things to the web, you know that's where the industry is going. When even they're finally catching up. So it's good to see that. Hangouts obviously has always been web-based, and there are other web-based video chat clients, and Skype being probably the largest, most popular one. It's good to see them finally jumping on board, and it'll be nice to see when it actually does hit what it's aiming for, according to OMG Chrome. They say that the aim is for it to run completely WebRTC, not require any plugins or anything like that. So that'll be cool to see if that happens and how long it takes.
Craig, what are your thoughts? I'm double checking, but I could have sworn that when it comes to browser compatibility, WebRTC is not looking good with IE.
It doesn't matter if it looks good with IE or not, because Microsoft has the ability to build the plugin into IE. So all you're really looking for is browser support on Chrome, Firefox, and Safari for WebRTC for the eventual version. But again, right now this requires a plugin, so it's useless for any browser until you install a plugin. If it gets to the point where it's plugin free for browsers that support it, and old versions of Internet Explorer don't support it, I'm sure the plugin will be available for users with old versions of Internet Explorer to install and be able to connect and use it, because Microsoft would love for you to be using an old version of Internet Explorer instead of Chrome or Firefox or Safari. I mean it benefits their business model. So the only thing I have to add here is a whole bunch of I told you so's. Because when everyone was talking, hey, it's going to be Skype for the browser, and I kept saying, no, it's not. It won't go directly to the browser. There'll be an intermediary step. Yep, there is. It's a plugin. It's a plugin. It's always a plugin. So
IE does not support it at all. Yet.
Yes. Yet being the keyword.
Right. I'm down with the whole plugin thing. It's one of those things where, Skype's owned by Microsoft. Whether or not this was on the horizon before they were purchased, it's just funny that, they go to that. So that's all.
Well, Microsoft's had a lot of fun with Skype so far because the Skype infrastructure used to be your peer-to-peer.
Mm-hmm.
And then Microsoft decided, no, after that purchase. So, and now they're talking about getting back to peer-to-peer. Yeah, full circle.
Not only that, but then wasn't part of that the government asking for the ability to spy on the connections? So you had to have a middleman?
If you have a document that can prove that, I'm sure...
Oh, yeah, I know. I don't, of course. It's all hearsay and non-facts here on the show, Craig.
Well, my opinion there is it's no... You can't blame Microsoft for something like national security letters because all tech companies are affected by those. So it's unfair to pinpoint one versus the other. Because when your company gets a national security letter, there is no saying no. That doesn't work. LavaBit is the only company that's ever said no, and they ended up shutting down.
I was going to say they shut down. That's not good, Craig.
So, generally, the policy is don't say no to a national security letter. It's not good. So I can't be mad at Microsoft for that any more than I'm mad that the tech industry culture in general allowed it to happen.
All right, I'll go with that.
Word.
All right, next up, we'll get off the NSA stuff, just because that's a touchy subject. Google launches Chromebooks in Japan. Land of the Rising Sun now has the Chromebooks, right? All I can say is It's about darn time. Because I think that for any culture, especially technology-wise, and also just the fact that Japan, they're the creators of small electronics. So to be able to produce a inexpensive, light, thin in way of OS and of course hardware, I can't think that Japan, the consumer market there is definitely ready for a Chromebook. I don't know why we didn't get there sooner, or the enterprise sooner, enterprise-wise. Thoughts, gentlemen? I'm going to start with you, Craig, just because I started with James last time.
Well, when it comes to international rollouts, there's good reasons why they're slow. You've got localization issues, language settings, things like that, but also local laws to comply with. You got to find partners for sales channels, partners for supply chains. I mean, it's not an easy task to bring a physical product to a completely new market. So I can understand why it took time, but I'm happy to see that Google is making those investments and they're bringing them to more countries, because I do feel the Chromebook it truly is a product that can benefit a lot of people. Like you said, if the price point can really stay low, I'm not sure we've seen low price points internationally, to be honest. I think in a lot of markets they're much higher than they are in the United States. But I think there is a market for them internationally, and when you look at markets that maybe are not necessarily Microsoft dominated, but maybe where open source software already exists at the government level, if not just even popular among users, I think that Chromebooks are a cost-effective alternative to open source software that maybe isn't supported anymore, or pirated copies of Microsoft Windows.
I'm with you.
Amen.
Amen, brother. James, what are your thoughts on? Do you think it's a good market? I mean, do you think that the Japanese are chomping at the bit for a little bit of Google love?
Let me see here. Considering there's 127 million people in Japan, I'd say it's a pretty good market to jump into.
Well, that's a good point.
Also, like to go on record as saying I hate pirated copies of Windows. They don't allow me to have my own desktop wallpaper, which is super annoying. So,
where's this going?
2 thumbs up to Chrome OS.
I'm like, how did we get to pirated copies of Windows? Where did we
Just
go?
trying to touch on all of Craig's points here. It is exciting to see Chromebooks hit Japan, especially after the news not too long ago that Samsung is pulling out of Europe as far as laptops go. So that was some kind of weird, crappy news, and Chromebooks hitting Japan, that's fun, good news.
I agree. I think we can end that story on that note. Make your site look good on Chrome, on Android Lollipop with a theme color. Now, I've heard a little bit about this. I've seen a couple of examples. I've heard a little bit of stories of extortion. What do we know? Mr. Tumbleson, what is the deal with themes?
What about them, John? You're not getting out of it that easy.
So,
be more specific.
First of all, I know for a fact that both of you have been all about the Lollipop and the Chrome and the themes on the thing there.
All right, John,
so
I'm going to cut you off because it's clear you don't know what you're talking about.
No, that's what it is. Theme color. Hold on, let me bring it up. Let me see how wrong I was.
You're about to get caught on a technicality, I have a feeling, John.
Oh, Oh, is Craig really going with the whole like? Oh,
You're
come
about to
on.
get semantic.
Ugh, I hate it when I'm semantic. Okay, Mr. Tumblison, let's deal in semantics.
Sure, but you asked for it. No, I'm kidding. Um, what this allows, okay, so Lollipop, by default on phones, not on tablets, but on phones, your Chrome tabs show up as recent programs in your overview mode of recent applications. And there is now I don't think it's part of the HTML5 spec. I think it's just like a Chrome-specific thing, or maybe a Android-specific thing. You can now set a theme color for your website, and when you're viewing the Lollipop recents list, the theme color will be the window color for that tab. And so the webmaster gets to set this. They can also provide a logo, which is just a fave icon but bigger, essentially. It's a pain to get set up correctly. I spent longer than I care to admit trying to get it to work. It turns out that it needs to be above the CSS styling calls on your page for some reason. So it doesn't work real well.
You can't just throw it in like the head tag, or like, what is that? You mean you have to call it before the CSS script?
Yes. Yes, and I know for a fact that's how it is because I spent an hour and a half doing it the other way and trying to debug it, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So it's a pain, but it is workable. It's doable. If you're a webmaster and you're listening, you're used to pulling your hair out anyway. So, and it does look kind of okay on Lollipop. I'm not completely a fan of all of the tabs being in the apps list, but luckily James knows a way around that. I think we talked about it earlier, and I think that's actually in the show notes. So we're gonna get to that in a second.
All right, and so now, James, I'm going to throw this to you because, I mean, Craig dealt with the pitfalls of figuring it all out, right? So now he's told us the one huge caveat, which is, hey, put it above your CSS script, so that you won't spend an hour being like, I've put it in, why won't it work? I've put it in, why won't it work? I've put it in, why won't it work? Now that you've kind of got that stuff laid out, you kind of know how to do it. You know that it's basically some HTML tags or whatnot. Is it worth it? The fact that it's only on Lollipop, which of course Lollipop is the newest version of Android out there. I mean, this won't work necessarily on Apple, right? This won't work on other devices. It doesn't work on even tablets, as Craig just mentioned. So it's only phones, and you're getting a little bit of. You're just going to give yourself a little bit of flair, a little bit of color. Is it worth it?
Well, first of all, John, I code all my websites to not show up on Apple devices anyway, so I'm not too concerned about that. Secondly,
High five.
I'm assuming,
High five.
right? Bam. I'm assuming that Lollipop for tablets will incorporate this feature at some point. It has definitely been confirmed that this does not work on tablets. It's all over the internet. People with Nexus 7, 9, 10s complaining about this. But I have to assume it's going to be there eventually. Is it worth it? If you know that you have to put it in the right place, it takes 2 seconds. So for me, it was worth it. I was lucky enough to hear Craig complain about it before I attempted it myself. So I knew to put the one little tiny short tag before my CSS calls. So it worked right away for me. It does automatically pull your fave icon, so that's something you want to keep in mind. If you actually created your fave icon to actually be a 25 by 25 pixel image, when it looks fine as a fave icon, it's going to look all zoomed in and pixely as on Lollipop. So it would be a good idea to create a new larger favicon for that theme image instead of just letting it use your normal favicon if you design your favicon to be super tiny. Mine, the image that it's calling is a large image, so it's being scaled down to the size of the favicon anyways, so it looked fine, but I can see that being a problem for some people, having a really pixelated, crappy looking icon there. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth it. I think it just helps you stand out a little bit, I guess. Rather, I mean, who wants to be boring, right? You don't want it just to be gray with the Chrome logo and it says Chrome. You know, you want it to at least maybe be one of the colors on your website. You know, match your theme and have your logo there. I don't know. It's not really a benefit, but it does help. It makes it look better, I think. Kind of matches the material design of Lollipop.
Here's my question, and Craig, I'm going to throw this back to you. We had a discussion in regard to, this was literally almost a year ago. We had a discussion in regard to the fact that when you were going to create bookmarks that were going to go in the system tray of Chrome OS, for a while there they were like, oh, the YouTube app would be a capital Y, and then the accent color would then be generated from the website to then create the bookmark, right? And I have actually a little bit of an example of this, and the reason I bring it up, this application is called Player FM. It's an application on Android, if you can see my phone. And at the top of the screen there, you can see that the title bar, which they're using the material design look, which looks awesome as usual. But you can see on my screen that I have a number of shows here. Like this is Tech Talk Today, this show right here. So if I tap it, it actually changes. You can see at the very top, the material design bar at the top, it changed to black because that's their primary color. And then if I go back, if I can do this by using the screen, if I go back, and now I'm going to pick another show. I'm going to pick this is the comedy mixtape. See at the top bar, the material design bar, it actually changed to the accent primary color of the podcast. So my question is here's an application, a really cool one, that's actually using a real time to just grab. I mean, the favicon is a different issue, but I mean, if you, like James said, I mean, if you really should be producing a larger favicons just for instances like this. But the why do we have to have a brand new HTML tag just for one specific browser? I realize that we've been doing it for years. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the fact that we've been coding for individual browsers for many years, because one got WebKit before the others. So then if you want to you'd have like an agent switcher type thing going on, and you'd have like if-thens all over the place because one browser wouldn't support it, one would. I get that. But the fact that Lollipop, even if it has 50% market share in 5 years, to code this in your web, it kind of pisses me off. I don't know. I guess I'm just rude that way. But I think that honestly, that if this Player FM app can do it, if they were going to do it with the bookmarks in Chrome OS, why on earth are they requiring the web developer to add a piece of code specifically for Lollipop and Chrome?
I think the question was for me.
I'm throwing it out to all of the internet. But Craig, you're here, and James is last. So by default, it's the Tummels.
Cool. Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm not thrilled. I guess one of the things that you could argue is that, like with the app you were showing, the content creator doesn't get control over what color is selected. Whereas with the HTML tag, the webmaster gets to choose the color. They also get to choose the logo. And the logo can actually be different than the default favicon, like James pointed out. So I'm not thrilled, like you said. You're obviously not thrilled. I don't know if this is standardized or not. The HTML5 rocks page doesn't indicate that it's any sort of standard. It actually says support for theme color in Chrome 39 for Android as the title.
I'm serious, dude. That is BS.
It's specific to. Well, it's more than BS, John, because it's specific to a browser, specific to a browser version, and specific to a browser version on a specific operating system.
This is what I'm saying, dude.
So it's not even like the old Firefox where they would have their prefixes for the CSS elements, and it's. I was so happy when Google announced that they were no longer going to do prefixes. Back when they switched from WebKit to Blink, they said no more prefixes. We're done with prefixes. Yeah, no, you're not, because now you're requiring full meta tags. It's a step backwards.
It's a total step backwards.
I can't really even defend it. It's not that cool.
I agree, it's not that cool, but I think I can at least try to defend it. I know it sounds annoying that we're talking about a specific browser on a specific operating system on specific devices, but the feature doesn't make sense on any other devices anyways. You don't have a view like that on Chrome OS, so it's not like this new feature is leaving Chrome OS out.
Untrue.
Or Chrome for Windows.
Actually, that's untrue. I don't know the status of it, but there is an API somewhere in Chrome OS for a app to set a window color. So if, for example, you were to open a web page in its own window, theoretically, it would work better for an app through the API, but developers, at some point, there was discussion of them getting to pick the window color in Chrome OS. But continue, because you're not wrong.
Which hasn't happened yet, so disregarding any future guesses, which you typically stay away from, going by what we know, Lollipop 5.0 Android is really the only place where you're going to see that set of cards displaying individual tabs of websites that you have open in Chrome. So I don't feel like I don't know. It doesn't make me mad. It's just Lollipop added this new cool cards feature, and Google said, hey, why not? How about we let web developers choose what color their tab shows up on Lollipop? And it takes like 32 characters to type that in, and you can copy and paste it and just change the color. I mean, it's so simple. I do agree that what I think they should do is they should have a default. They should pull a color from your website by default, pull your favicon in by default, but let you override those settings with the meta tag if you want a different color. If it pulled blue from my website and I said, I'd rather it be red, then I could throw the meta tag in there, make it red. And if I think, well, the icon's a little bit bigger, so maybe I could actually use my full logo instead of this little favicon I made, then I could override that too. So I think they should make it default like the Player FM app that John was talking about, but I like the fact that we can customize it the way we want, and it's really easy to do.
I agree, James. You actually had a lot of good points there, and I totally agree that a mix of both worlds, and then being able to add it. And Craig, you talk about the fact that the app's going to come out and be able to theme the window bar, but it still is upsetting that it just seems I mean, right now we're talking about open standards, for gosh sake.
Well, hang on. Open standards. Hang on. There is something to be said, and James walked around it, but he didn't actually say it. This is going to be, if you start to take the tabs out of Chrome and you make them their own window, you make them their own app, then the developer should be able to set the color for that app. So if, for example, you're using a web app on your Android Lollipop device, the developer should have theming abilities for that app.
I'll give you that. And
what
then if
you're saying, when it comes to web apps, packaged apps are by no means open source. Even though they're developed in HTML and CSS and JavaScript, they are by no means in a standardized format. So we've known for a while that Chrome was going to break standardization because most of the Chrome APIs are not standard. They're not standard web HTML5 APIs. They allow access for hardware levels and stuff like that. So you kind of have to look at it from, are they breaking standard or are they adding extra theming stuff to the standard. And in either case, they're wrong because this is just bad.
If right now,
So just to be clear, you guys would be happier if we did not have the ability to add a meta tag and change the theme on our website. They all just showed up whatever the default card looks like.
No.
That would make you happier.
I don't want to be. Honestly, I don't want to be talking about it on one device, on one browser, for one version, for one device style.
No other browser gives you cards. Firefox doesn't give you cards. Internet Explorer doesn't give you cards. Opera doesn't give you cards. Only Android, Chrome for Android on Lollipop gives you cards. If Firefox gives you cards, they could let you incorporate the meta thing to change their theme.
Do we know if there's an API in Lollipop for putting browser tabs as cards? Like, can other browsers do that?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
Because if they can, then it might just be a matter of time.
I mean, in the world of meta tags, this one's going to fall away like I don't even know. I could make a terrible joke, but I'm not going to. But this could fall away just like every other just stupid little standard. And I'm not trying to belittle the effort of the developers. I think it looks cool when you can see that, you know, the different browsers have the different colors based on what the developer wanted, and that's awesome. But no, that's my final thought.
Well, my final thought would be, to answer James's question, I'm not going to say that we would be better without the tag. What I would have preferred is for Google to go to the W3C, propose it, get it standardized, and then allow Lollipop to make use of that standard.
I'll go with that, because Firefox, Ubuntu, they're all going HTML5 with their apps, right? So if you make it a standard, then, and maybe we're wrong, maybe the W3C has this as a standard pending. We don't know. I mean, I haven't checked, but maybe Google did approach them already. The point is, right now, it just literally works for one device, one browser, one version, and it's like literally makes me mad when I think about that. But anyway, all right. So let's get off that, because it's getting me fired up. So I think we spent like a half an hour on that. That's okay. All right. Woo! Yeah, that got me fired up. I don't know what it is. It's you know what? It's just that working with multiple types of people, multiple companies that do different things with a different application. It's kind of what I do, right? It's a little bit of what I do, where I have to develop something or graph something to allow different sets of people to use it, and you just can't throw something in there and then, you know, be like, you know, this is just for this one little piece. It's just too much. It's mind-blowing when you think about browsers and web pages. But anyway, all right. So, all right. Task collaboration, improved filters, land in Google Keep for Chrome. What's up with that, guys?
Shared lists!
Finally.
Craig's all excited.
It's about time. Yeah, you can now make a shopping list and share it with your family.
Oh, no, that is important.
Or a hit list and share it with your co-workers.
We can
We'll
do
edit
this.
that out later.
Okay. Okay. Seriously, that was a dark turn. So, Craig, lighten it up. Lighten it up, Craig.
I have a feeling James just finished watching Horrible Bosses. But, anyway, this update is great, except for the one tiny little problem on Chrome OS, where it doesn't show images. Oh.
Yikes.
Yeah, there's a tiny bug, and I say tiny because I don't have a good sense of size. So it's a tiny bug. Yeah, Keep updated. It brought this amazing functionality, and on Chrome OS, you can no longer see images that you've attached to notes. So we're tracking it on the product forum. We're aware of it. The team's aware of it. I've seen a ticket that seems to describe the problem, and it's really, really overly complex. It has to do with an app's ability to call assets that may not be local, and whether or not they have permissions to fetch and cache those assets and store them into a IndexedDB, or whether or not they don't. And if they don't, then they have to recache them every time, and then an app can't work offline because it has to recache each time it launches. To me, it should just be simple. I just want to open it up and say, "Open Sesame, show me my image." It doesn't work that way. Thankfully, there are a lot of really, really intelligent engineers that work on this stuff, and even though occasionally the results of their labor is very frustrating to us as users, I do really, really respect what they're able to accomplish most of the time. So
most of the time. Now he's like, but I want my images.
Now here, the good news is the solution to this, if you are a user on Chrome OS and you're seeing this problem, just go to keep.google.com. Images pop right up.
Right. Instead of using the host, right.
Right.
Using the app.
So they're not available offline. That's the drawback at the moment. Right now, Google Keep images are not available offline for Chrome OS devices. But hopefully, because this does seem to be a pretty widespread issue, it'll get fixed. And oddly enough, it's not affecting the Google Keep app for Chrome on Windows, Mac, Linux, or anything else. Or Android. Android works perfect. Go figure. It must be all those lollipops.
Exactly. James, do you use the Keep? I don't use the Keep. I use the Keep for about a hot 5 seconds, then I stop using the Keep.
I do use Keep. I didn't for a while. I opened it up once and I was like, this is cool. It doesn't really let me do much. But I just started using it one day because I kept thinking, man, I really wish there was a decent note-taking app for my phone. And everybody kept saying Keep was great, and I didn't like it at first, but I just started forcing myself to use it. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't like it at first. I mean, it's just so easy. You can open the app and just start typing a note right away, just to make a quick note. You can use it to make lists, and it syncs on all of your devices. So I don't know. I really like it. It's kind of annoying that I can't do things. At least I haven't figured out how to do things like underline text, things like that. But as far as just taking quick notes, I use it all the time because I forget things a lot. And so when I can I have notes. I have a note for restaurants that I go to, and if there's a particular dish that I normally like but I hate it at this restaurant, I put it on my list so I know don't order this at this restaurant. I have a list of stouts that I don't like or that I do like, so I know what to order because I just forget stuff, So I love the app, and the biggest drawback has always been that I can't share notes with people. I am a huge nerd, and I play Magic the Gathering with my friend, and sometimes I would like to build like a deck and share it with them. Hey, what do you think of this deck idea? And I build my own decks in Notes or in Keep, and I'm excited that now I can just share that note with them and say, hey, what do you think of this deck idea? And things like that. Craig's idea with sharing shopping lists, that's also great. I can share a shopping list with my wife, and we can work on it over the next couple of days if we're both going to the store or something. Things like that. It's really silly that it's taken this long, I think, to be able to share notes and Keep, especially with Google's philosophy of collaborating on everything.
I do want to say that I can't take credit for the idea of shared grocery lists. I would like to.
There's like a bajillion apps for that.
That's pretty much that's one of the first ideas everybody had, I think, when we found out we could share Google Keep notes.
It was in the announcement post.
Right. I think I'm the one that kind of missed the boat a little bit, but it's because you know what, I'm like James was in the very beginning. I really don't get it. I really do not get it. I know that sounds silly, but I'm just like whatevs. Like.
I think if you had an Android Wear smartwatch, you would use it all the time.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
No, I do. I do. I use it all the time because of that. I can put barcode images on my wrist and scan my Kroger Plus card. I can scan my airplane tickets. I can pull up all of my recent notes right on my wrist without needing to touch my phone. So it's really handy for that.
Yeah,
You
John.
haven't sold me on the watch yet, Craig.
You can get there is an LG G watch for $80 at the moment.
I still don't know.
And it looks like an $80 watch.
It does.
Here I am with my brick.
Well, the biggest problem is it's that one shape, not the circle one, the other shape, the shape that no one really likes. What is it? Square. It's a square
Trapezoid.
watch.
Oh, square. I'm sorry.
Trapezoid would be interesting. Maybe Sony will do something like that. They're into weird.
Parallelogram? No.
Technically, squares are parallelograms.
Oh god,
Just
All
saying.
right, all right.
this is taking a turn. First Magic the Gathering, we've opened the gates.
Yeah, that probably wasn't in the announcement, was it? Now you can share Magic the Gathering deck ideas with your friends.
Really, but it's another good idea. I like it. All right, so you know what? I'll put keep back on my horizon, i.e. put it back on all my devices because I took it all off.
Just force yourself to use it. Whenever you want to just remember something for later, just open Keep, make the note, and I promise you'll start using it more and finding it useful.
You know what makes me mad? You know what grinds my gears?
Lots of things.
Lots of things. But one of the reasons I don't use a lot of Google products more than I should is because of the fact that I can't reach it from work. And I feel like I want to be able to use all the same tools at work and then use them at home. And then when I can't do both, it makes me frustrated because I'm like, I know I have that in Keep and I can't reach Keep at work. You know what I mean? That's one of the
Your
reasons
work
why I don't use it.
sucks, John.
My
Your
work
work
is actually
sucks.
pretty awesome, but security-wise, they're pretty tight. So, all right. Chromebook admins get Disallow Shutdown as part of enterprise policy. Someone needs to break that down for me.
Kiosk.
Ah.
Done. Next.
That's next. Exactly.
What's
Like
next?
literally, Craig. Like literally, Craig. Like literally, just like there's no more words. No more words need to be spoken.
Kiosk.
That's what people are like. Kiosk. Think about it. Put that in your noodle. Roll it around for a while. You'll be good to go. Chrome adds Profile Switcher to Windows Taskbar for easy access. So buttons. Craig, you and James, you and Craig, were talking about being able to how this was better for the world when it comes to ease of use. James, I believe you brought up clicks. How many clicks does it take to get to the center of a Chrome profile? We don't know. But I do know that the way that I work it... Sorry. That was a good joke.
It's all right.
That was.
Wow.
I'm not sure what just happened there. You know, did you guys hear that they're making a 3D version of the Peanuts movie? I mean, what is that? I remember the Peanuts. I grew up with them, and growing up watching the Peanuts, oftentimes there were commercials with the little owl. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? I'm wondering, during the Peanuts 3D movie premiere, are they going to reference the owl licking the lollipop somewhere in it? Maybe like a 3D owl? Because that would just be an amazing callback to an era. Because think about it, the Tootsie Pop was an era. You don't see them that often anymore. They're kind of gone the way that leaving your back door unlocked or picking up the phone while somebody else was using it to listen in. They're just gone. And this is how I fill gaps of time while John recollects himself. and his thoughts. Let's check back in with John.
Oh, John. You're muted there, buddy. Still muted.
No. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Craig. You can go ahead and hop off your segue there. So that really was a really good joke, though. But let me stop for a second. So, woo! I've mentioned the fact that I have a profile for my daughter, which is a supervised user profile, and then I have my wife has her profile, and then I have my profile. We have one main desktop. It's a Windows machine upstairs, and what I have is I have three links or three desktop icons, and one is my wife's, one's mine, and one's my daughter's. And there's those generic icons that you can use to make them to show the profile how it differentiates in all of them, right? But one says like Lori's Chrome, John's Chrome, and Sarah's Chrome. So if you double click either one, you're opening up that individual profile. So what I'm wondering here is, and I'm kind of going to go back to James's thing about the clicks. It takes one click to get to my Google profile. So, and my version of Chrome, right, with all my apps, all my history, everything like that. What is the deal with this new thing?
Well, John, I am going to point out that it does not take one click. It's a double click. That's 2 clicks. Bam! We're starting off strong. I have the same.
It could be a click and an enter.
Ooh, good point.
Sorry.
Dude, well, keyboards are clicks, right? It makes the clicky noise.
Nope,
Okay,
nope,
hang on.
nope,
Not mine.
Nope.
Do you have a mechanical
It's a
keyboard?
click and a press.
A click and a tap?
Click and a press. No, taps touchscreen. Can't use that. Go ahead, keep going, Craig.
Yeah, okay. So this is not for people like you, John. This is for people that have the desktop all to themselves. They have multiple profiles, one for home, one for work, one for Magic the Gathering personas, whatever you want. So it lets you quickly switch between those when you already have Chrome up and running. So you don't need to minimize, go to the desktop, do clicking and tapping and pressing and buttons and magic to get it open. You just go down to the taskbar, click once, click the name. No minimization is necessary. So it is actually saving a click, but as I tried to point out to James earlier, clicks are not a United Nations recognized form of measurement. So it doesn't matter 1 click versus 2. The clicks are not important. It's how quickly you can navigate between the clicks. It's time to click that matters. TTC, time to click.
I think your math is a little off there, Craig. You're saying that you saved a click with the new method?
Yes,
I would
you
say
no longer
you're
have to
not saving.
minimize.
I don't have to minimize. I go click on my profile picture and I click on the new profile. That's dose clicks that are right next to each other. Very low time to click. The difference is, do I go to the top right to do it, or do I go down to the taskbar to do it?
Where on your screen are your Chrome launch icons placed?
On the bottom.
So you're saying,
Icons at the top.
well, in James's case, basically, if he opens Chrome using his Chrome icon, his cursor is going to be at the bottom of the screen, so the taskbar would actually be closer.
I'm just going to hit the search bar on my keyboard, type Chrome, and hit Enter, actually. So my mouse could be anywhere on the screen.
Ooh, good point. But now you can't reach a profile.
Plus, who closes Chrome anyways? My Chrome is always open. I have 42 tabs open. I don't even have Chrome in my launcher because I don't need it down there.
Well, at the end of the day, all this is doing is adding an additional option for people. But it's so much fun to fight over. My personal preference is more important than yours.
Ooh.
He has a point.
That's
Also,
the
I lied.
subject.
I do have Chrome in my taskbar because you can't not have Chrome in your taskbar.
Yes, you can have
I just
Chrome
said that because I felt the help.
Well, no, what
Try
we're
to
talking
unpin
about
it.
is a launcher on the taskbar, not once you open Chrome, of course, it's on your taskbar because it's an open application. Right?
Oh, yeah.
If we're talking about Windows. If we're talking about
What?
Chrome OS.
Shut
What?
up. You know I don't use Windows.
Well, pirated copies, I'm sorry. I have to preference that with pirated copies of Windows.
Yeah, I don't use that anymore either.
Winders.
Chrome doesn't install on pirated copies. It's IE6 or nothing.
Or nothing, baby. We're going back to 1996 or nothing. Alright. So, when did IE6 come out? 2004? 2003?
Like 1990.
No, it was the XP era.
No. Right.
It was was it in a service pack or was it in default? Because Windows XP was what, 2000?
2000, 2001. So, wow, I had to look that up. All I do know is that what I know is that if you do own an XP machine and you're running Internet Explorer 8 right now, and you're not running Firefox or Chrome, first of all, you're not watching this show. That's for sure. but you're definitely not watching it on your computer. Because literally IE8 is so back in time that like even Amazon doesn't like load right. I mean, it's that bad. If you have to use IE8. IE8 like literally can't handle like Amazon displaying correctly.
Well,
It's bad.
Amazon's a bad example.
No, Amazon is rock solid.
No. Have you looked at anything they do? Oh my goodness. I love
Are they
Amazon.
Very, very
Are they
minimalist.
profitable? Have they reached profit? Are they still in the red every year, every day?
They do that on purpose because they invest in themselves. If they didn't invest in themselves, yeah, they would be profitable. But they take all the profits they make and reinvest them. So year to year, they're either neutral or a little bit in the red. But overall, if they were to take out the investments that they make in things like making your packages better and making your customers happy by comping stuff when it's defective, instead of having you return it, they just send you a new one, stuff like that, then yeah, they would be way profitable.
Okay.
It's R&D.
R&D, like the flying
Drones ain't gonna
packages.
fly themselves.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There you go. Well, gentlemen, speaking of flying themselves, we better fly. I'm coming up with the best jokes today. The best jokes ever.
Really? Are you gonna share any with us?
Good point. Good point. Good point.
If this is the height of your career as a comedian, maybe pursue a different path.
Stick with software.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. It's just fun, is what it is. It's a good laugh, gentlemen. Okay, so guys, this is going to end episode 45 of Practical Chrome. We're not gonna languish in anything else. But I do like to do the whole like, Craig, where can people find you? Because you know what I mean. It's important because if people watch the show, they're like, where is Craig Doubleson, and how can I email him? So
We'll put his email address in the show notes.
let's do it. Okay. Craig.
John. Alex.
Oh boy.
Woo!
I am
James?
popular. We get
Okay.
that.
Craig really receives a lot of email.
It's not just email. I have a massive complaint. Google Plus spam is ridiculous at this point. I have people, they must be spam bots because if they're humans, we've got a problem. And they mention me and say things like, hey, we're friends, and then they list me and a million other people in the same post, and it's like, no, we're not friends. So I have to go and block them.
It's rude.
And it is. It's very rude. And I get these notifications constantly. And lately, I've been getting Hangout messages, just unsolicited, out of the blue Hangout requests. And they're from spam bots. And I don't have any interest in becoming friends with a spam bot. A couple, but not most of them.
At least get to know them first.
Well, some early on I did because, they're interesting. Because
Well, I mean,
well,
we just Greg.
the really interesting spam bots are the ones that take a message that you send and say it back slightly different. Because if you figure out how they're coded and you send specific messages, sometimes you can
Get it to say I love you. I know it takes time, but finally it does say I love you back.
No, what I was describing is actually... I probably shouldn't finish that thought. I'm basically describing an injection hack, but yeah, if you send the spam bot certain things and they try to work it back into conversation, if you can get it to escape and you can start sending it instructions, you can have all kinds of fun.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it is. So there you go, everybody. Get to know your local spam bots. They're good sources of things. Yeah.
I love things.
I love people, places, and things.
Nouns. Nouns are awesome.
Are
And
we playing
verbs.
Wheel of Fortune or are we playing Jeopardy? I'm confused now.
Family Feud.
Oh, the feud.
I don't know what we're playing, but we're losing.
No,
We are not
James,
winning.
You actually have 6 points. Craig has 4 points, and I have -3 points. You gotta get on board.
Oh, so it's whose line is it? Where the point
Okay.
up?
The points are completely arbitrary, and I make them up. So.
Okay, Jim.
That's right. So, that reminds me. There's a good show on. It's a podcast. If you go to BBC Comedy, you gotta check it out. And they do a thing. It's called the News Hour, and they do a thing where everybody gets points because they're all comedians on the show talking about news. It's really good. It's being arbitrary because they literally give everybody points. Anyway, so James, let's get to you, sir. Let's talk about the Welbus and where he can be found.
Oh, you can find me in text form on Google+. You can find me in delicious video form on chromebookhelp.info.
Ooh.
You can find me on practicalchrome.com.
Ooh.
You'll find 2-month-old me there, but I'm there.
That's right, exactly. That's right. And I do want to bring that up. Yeah, it's not going to get updated probably. And the fact that that something new is on the horizon. I want to put that out there to the worlds. Something better, something more shiny.
Don't spoil it.
Then what?
I'm just saying what I can't listen. It's all right, fine.
John,
Fine.
there are very few secrets that we entrust you with. There are a lot of things that James and I just don't tell you because we know you have a big mouth.
It's true. It's true.
He thinks we're joking.
I do have a big mouth. I know this. That's okay. Well, I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. All right, we'll end on that note. The fact that the two people that I feel were my friends are hiding things from me. That's terrible.
For your own good, John.
I know.
I mean, most of you are good, but some of you are good.
It's trickle-down benefit.
It's a trickle-down benefit. This is Reaganomics.
And we're happy, John's happy.
All right. That was going to be my cutaway to the show. Anyway, all right. Everyone have a good rest of the week. We will see you next Tuesday live at Tuesday at 10:10-ish. And thanks for watching.